Hi, everybody. Happy Monday. I've got great news that comes out of MAPS and out of the FDA, of all places. The psychedelic drug MDMA has passed its phase 3 trials and will probably soon be available for prescription use by therapists. The psychedelic drug MDMA can reduce symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder, researchers reported in a new study published Thursday. The company sponsoring the research said it plans later this year to seek U.S. approval to market the drug, also known as ecstasy, as a PTSD treatment when combined with talk therapy. This is the first innovation in PTSD treatment in more than 2 decades, and it's significant. I think it will also open up other innovations, said Amy Emerson, CEO of MAPS Public Benefit Corporation, the research sponsor. Earlier this year, Australia became the first country to allow psychiatrists to prescribe MDMA and psilocybin, the psychoactive ingredient in magic mushrooms. Drugs are gaining wider cultural acceptance in the U.S. in part because of efforts by the nonprofit advocacy group MAPS, the Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies. The new study, researchers measured symptoms in 104 people with PTSD who were randomly assigned to get either MDMA or a dummy pill. 3 sessions that also included talk therapy with a psychotherapist. After treatment, 86% of the MDMA group improved on standard PTSD assessment compared to 69% of the placebo group. Assessment measures symptoms such as nightmares, flashbacks, and insomnia. At the study's end, 72% of the people in the MDMA group no longer met the diagnostic criteria for PTSD, to about 48% of the placebo group. The results that they got are very exciting, said Barbara Rothbaum, who directs the Emory Healthcare Veterans Program in Atlanta. She was not involved in the research, which was published in the journal Nature Medicine. Before MDMA can be prescribed in the U.S., the FDA would need to approve it, and the DEA would need to change its classification for MDMA. MDMA is currently classified as Schedule 1, on par with heroin, to have no currently accepted medical use, a high potential for abuse, and a high potential for addiction, none of which are true. There are actual underground coalitions of psychotherapists who have been using MDMA since it was legal and before in the 80s with talk therapy. It is an amazing tool for therapy and for the alleviation of PTSD and other emotional psychological disorders. Don't forget, it's also fun to take in fun ritual dance therapy sessions with your friends and family. So as much as they want to shunt all these drugs into a purely pharmacological, prescription-based model, we need to make sure to keep taking psychedelics with our friends and ourselves, either at house parties or out in the woods howling at the moon. This is Matthew St. Germain from Monday. What do you guys think?
Lots of psychedelics going on, Matthew St. Germain.
I mean, every time they apply science to them, what they find is that they're non-toxic, they heal the human brain, and they help people to live better.
I found it interesting. You said they were doing the study with Molly, and they just had someone there just to talk to you.
I mean, no, it's fun to talk.
I mean, what are they talking about in these studies, Matthew? What are the topics of conversation when you're just like sitting there rolling balls talking to some doctor?
In this therapeutic way, it's different in that they do is
you're not rolling
talk
balls.
You are, but what they do is they talk for a month or so to gain rapport, find out what's going on. Then in the therapy session, it's kind of they use the therapy session as a culmination. I'm sorry, the MDMA session as a culmination of the therapy. You're kind of ready, and at that discovery point and that depatterning point, the MDMA helps you to really examine the emotional contents of your heart and your mind, and to really see them in a way that's less intensely personal, where you don't feel judgment towards yourself, and so you can talk about what you've done and find forgiveness for yourself as well as for others. One of the biggest things that psychedelics do in increasing the dendritic formation and the patterning and connection in your brain is they actually allow you to depattern. What PTSD and trauma often does, it's very much like other learned skills. It will dig grooves of neurochemical pathways in your brain. And so this higher amount of chemical mapping, neuronal mapping together through dendritic formation basically allows greater patterns to establish and eliminates or shallows out those PTS grooves so that you can really almost become a new person.
So hold on.
So I think it's important, as much as I'm not like a super sacred hippie, I really do think it's important to, and you don't have to say it out loud, you don't have to close your eyes and make any kind of face that anybody sees, but it's important to get an intention in your own mind with kind of where you want the trip to go, what you want to learn, to the molecule, plant, or substance that you're about to make a part of your body, and really try to find a direction for what you're doing. And the last thing I want to add is one of the reasons I think I personally have gained a lot of value from psychedelics, even though I'm still a very imperfect, fucked up little dude, that I don't drink alcohol when I do psychedelics. And I think that drinking alcohol turns psychedelics more into drinking fuel and really obscures the intellect and the ability to learn, change, depattern, and grow psychedelic usage. So when you're doing your drugs, man, try to focus and just do some acid, mushrooms, and MDMA, and save the drinking for another day.
Save your liver.
Too.
That's the moral of the story, huh, Matthew? Save. I just feel like, Matthew, when you're telling that story, all right, of like how they like talk to you for a while, and then you know what do you remember that movie? I think the movie was called Run, where like the lady would like hypnotize people and then like would they like turn them into slaves or some craziness after that.
Okay.
Well,
seen it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you should check it out. It was a crazy movie. But yeah, that's what that reminds me of, is like all of a sudden you have this doctor and they have to like figure out a time when like they think that their relationship with you is right to where you're going to open up and be all this forthcoming while you're rolling balls on MDMA. It just sounds like a setup to me. I'm not sure. I'm thinking that that's like real therapy or not.
That's why there's to be a therapist, there's an extensive training, education, list of rules and requirements. There's things that if you do or do not do, you cannot be a therapist. Therapists are human beings and make mistakes 100%.
Mm-hmm.
To get to a point in your life where you have to trust someone.
Mm-hmm.
And I could just speak from a clinician standpoint, having been the person in the chair working with hundreds of people, not having that form of treatment as an option for any of the individuals that I worked with. I would say that a significant number of them, if I had been able to have that, have a psychedelic opportunity to help them, there's so much that individuals can overcome in just one or two psychedelic experience, the clinical setting opportunities, I believe, anyway. It's such a huge heart opener. And also it allows you to almost see certain issues like trauma related issues, for example, as a separate entity of you. You can externalize it and you can analyze it without re-experiencing the trauma often. And it can be very healing. And once you have that experience psychologically, when you come out of the euphoria from this experience, you can clearly remember how you externalized that issue, and it no longer is something that has such a tight control on you. And on that note, I'm going to be quiet because we're way over time.
We are way over time. Do you guys have a second? I have one more story.